were talking a little bit about regarding obviously the recent events that happened. Is there any new information that hasn't been shared publicly yet that you'd like to get out, or any gleanings from the investigation for either of the two recent ones or the one over the weekend?
Well, we've had 3 homicides over the past week and a half or so, and as far as the information goes, we've released the information in the press releases that we have put out. There's no suspect information or additional information that we can release at this time, so there's not much to go off of with those cases.
Is there? Oh, go ahead. Okay, I just wanted a quick follow-up. I'm sure this is something that is discussed in the community too, but with these 3 in the last week and a half, are these flare-ups something that the Don't Shoot initiative might not be tackling as strong as it could be? I mean, is this something where there might be some things that aren't falling into place in terms of catching or identifying or responding, or how does this fit into the overall Don't Shoot narrative?
Okay. Well, as far as the Don't Shoot goes, you know, it focuses on group violence. In looking at these previous cases, they do appear to be isolated incidents that are not random, and at this time they do not appear to be group member involved. So as far as the focused deterrent strategy goes, we don't really have a group that we need to focus on right now. You know, the detectives are currently investigating all the incidents. A separate detective is assigned to each case, so we are working on all the cases as we're speaking. And if it is revealed that they are group involved, then that will change, and we will end up focusing on the groups that are responsible for the act.
So none of these are related or anything like that you know of so far?
As of right now, they all appear to be random.
So it's no case of tit for tat retaliation for this, for that, then, right?
Correct. As of right now, that's what it appears.
A lot of the family members we saw this morning on Bigelow, very upset, expressing disbelief that the police aren't doing anything to help. As a matter of fact, when we went to Argo, we talked to the father of the young man who was killed in January, the first homicide. He still expressed frustration that nothing's being done. I mean, what do you say to the public who think that? Or
well, unfortunately, they think that. However, to the contrary, we are working, the detectives are continuously working on the cases, even the unsolved cases from going back to January and February of Tyrone Jones and DeMarcus Payne.
Is this the most unsolved ones we've had in a year? Do you know?
I don't know.
What's the message to the people at large here? Because you've got 3 homicides in what, a week or a week and a half. I mean, is there something that we really should be afraid of, or?
As I stated earlier, they do not appear to be random acts. One of the things that I need to stress, you know, to the public, to the community, is to get involved, give us the information. We cannot solve cases without the public's assistance. And, you know, just like when PCAP comes and holds the murder stand downs, the meetings at the Gateway building after the tragic events, to show the community support and, you know, to have the backing of the families and show the families that were there for support. And as someone has stated, I believe it was at last night's, you know, we need the community's involvement to take back the neighborhoods and to show the people that are committing this violence that it will not be tolerated and that the community will not tolerate it. That's why we need their support.
Do you have it? I mean, have you been with the last 3, and I know there's been more than that in the past. Have you seen the community support there, that they're coming forward and talking? Or
we could still use information as far as the community goes. People out there know what happened, and I'll go back to the Tyrone Jones and DeMarcus Payne case. I believe there are still people out there that know what happened, that we need them to come forward and give us the information.
The last 3 homicides in a row. Let's start with the first one, so to speak. where do we stand on that? Where is the investigation and follow for the two subsequent ones?
That would be the Nico Smith down on Cattell, 1618 West Cattell. There is, no one has been arrested for that. On that one, we had two individuals shot, one Nico Smith, who was deceased, and then a second victim. The detectives are still actively investigating that. We don't have any information that I can release, and so they're continuing that investigation. To go to the second one.
Can I ask a question about Nico
Sure.
real fast? Wasn't there suspect information on that one, or am I thinking of a different one? Is there any sort of description?
Description, there was put out,
Just blackmail with braids, mid-20s, $5.
yeah, as far as the suspect description for Nico's case was a black male, approximately 25 years old, medium complected, hair worn in long dreadlocks, no facial hair, about 5'10", 120 pounds. Last seen wearing a red and blue shirt and blue jeans.
So then the next one after that from Captain, Lieutenant, sorry.
Second, the one after that was the Zacchaeus Davis, occurred up at the intersection of Indiana and Kansas. Again, no suspect information. We need the community's support and assistance in that case as well.
Was that homicide gang related, can you say?
We do not believe so at this time. Nothing is pointing that. Not that that may change as information develops, but as of right now, no.
That was the one on Indiana, right?
Correct, Indiana and Kansas.
Was he also known as Daryl Johnson?
Yes, he, Derek is,
Sorry.
yep, Derek Johnson. However, he legally changed his name to Zacchaeus Davis.
Is there any connection weapon-wise? I mean, anything you're finding, it's all coming from particular handgun, rifle, anything in particular?
I
I mean,
don't-
somebody would be looking at home going, okay, it's a 45, my 45's missing, or whatever. I mean, is there something that the public could look for and go, okay,
As far as, there was a shell casing recovered in last night's, there's a shell casings plural, recovered at Indiana and Wisconsin. I don't know if they match. That is something that a forensic firearms specialist will have to examine to determine whether or not they come from the same gun or not. And then I do not believe that the incident down in Cattell, that they recovered any shell casings.
are all these victims known to you guys, priors, us for anything? I mean, are they just total unknown on the radar?
We did know a few of the victims from previous incidents.
Is there any reason to believe that they knew each other as well?
Nothing is pointing towards that right now.
Which victims did you know?
Nico Smith and I believe Zacchaeus Davis.
Again, some of the community people we talked to said, don't shoot doesn't seem to be working. Does this fall into that? Is it working? I mean, there's just an off year on this.
Well, we know going into the implementation of the Don't Shoot, as we've always said, we are cautiously optimistic of, putting out the numbers, because that's one of the first things that people look at when we do have an uptick, typically through the summer months, June, July, August, before the implementation of the Don't Shoot program. Those were hot months, and we had implemented task forces to which was groups of officers to combat the gun violence that was occurring. So we know that during those months we do have upticks in shootings, and in these cases, as I said before, they do appear to be random targeted acts of violence. They're not the from what we're seeing so far, the group member-involved incidents where the group members are retaliating and going back and forth at each other. So that's where I'm confident in saying that, feel comfortable saying that the Don't Shoot program is working in that aspect.
With that retaliation, I know a lot of the family members, they expressed desire for retaliation today. What would you say to those people who are thinking more violence? And are you expecting, are you guys preparing for more maybe retaliatory violence here?
You know, one of the things that I would plead to the family, let the police do the investigation, to bring that grief onto other families and to try to get their own justice in it. The only thing that does is snowball, and you end up getting, you know, now their family member will be in trouble and possibly end up looking at prison time. And, you know, let the police do the investigation. I promise them that the officers and detectives are relentlessly working on these cases and putting forth all their effort in getting these cases solved.
One of the things we had heard from someone is that all these residences were raided prior to, for various reasons, and they're thinking there's a police connection, that they were raided in search of something. Is that?
To my knowledge, I don't know of any of them that were raided per se, or search warrants executed at those residents prior to the events.
Afterwards,
Yes, afterwards, to look for evidence, we'll execute a search warrant at the residence to look for evidence.
When you say that the police, you know, let the police do their work, let them investigate, but this would be, what, the 8th shooting death since January, and only one arrest, 7th, and only one arrest has been made, so that, you know, at the same time, they could be looking at that going, well, you're not doing it because there's only one arrest out of all of those.
Well, and again, I go back to, we need the community's participation and support. We can't arrest our way out of this or without their information. We have to have the community's information and involvement.
Is it frustrating that people aren't coming forward if they have the information? Is it frustrating for you guys to do the job?
Absolutely. I think, you know, when you know that there's somebody out there that has the information that won't come forward, absolutely.
You doing any increased patrols now because of the number in the short proximity of time? Is the police department doing anything differently?
Yes, we've looked at, went through, and especially in the last week and a half, we've looked at those homicides, charted the times, and looking at our deployment of the officers. Prior to this incident, we had already increased patrols by a couple, conducting an enforcement action up in the center and East Bluffs. And so we've looked at the times, charted them, and now we will make adjustments where we need. That way we can have more of a police presence and have officers out in those areas. So the public will see more police involvement or more police presence in those areas.
in all the years I've been here, I've never remembered the East Bluff having this much. Is it an East Bluff problem now that's moved from somewhere else?
I can't speculate on that. Without looking at the stats to see.
I know we have a resident officer in the East Bluff as well. I mean, is that making a difference?
I think, you know, the resident officer up there had a cookout or outing for the residents of the area. Great turnout, great participation, and I hope that in occasions like that will create the bonds where people will feel comfortable of coming and talking to the police and give us the information if they do hear something up there.
Switching gears to the home invasion.